Nature made a lot of holes in this truck over the years, and she did so willy-nilly and didn't put them in the right spots. This is what I came up with for a template. Beautiful.
Good enough for this race car.
Yeah. It'll work. Sweet.
Something to later,
There it is. Hey guys, Turtle here. Welcome back to the channel. We're going to be working on the truck some more today. It is a beautiful day here, but let me show you what we're getting into today. We got some cleaning up to do and some fixing to do left still. We got some rotalization we got to fix right there. Some more stuff down there. Uh-oh, there's a hole there. You get the picture. The windshield wiper doohickey needs to go there. That hole isn't supposed to be that shape. We might have some problems up in here in the top of the cab of the truck. I hope we don't. We had a few on the other side. Yep, we're going to. This is all going to be painted, so that's going to have to be fixed. And then there's this. So most people would see that and they'd just say, you know what? Let's find a different truck. Not me. No, I'm retarded. We're gonna fix that. Have I ever fixed anything like that before? Nope. Do I think I can do it? I don't know. But I'm gonna give it a shot. The first thing I'm gonna do, first thing I know to do, is to try to remove as much rust as possible. So I'm gonna get my little hand sandblaster out and start sandblasting. I'm gonna take some pictures before I cut anything, just so I have something to reference, and then I'm gonna start cutting out junk. All right, well, I think that looks a whole lot better than it did. It's not perfect by any means, and I might have to put a little bit of mud in it right here where it's a little bit high. But that's definitely far better than what it was. I also started filling in these holes in here, just little itty bitty rust holes that appeared after I took a wire wheel to it. And I got some stuff like that to do along in here. That's pretty rotten. That's rust that needs to be taken care of. All right, I'm gonna do next is I gotta get in here and take care of this rust. You can see where it's cracked right there, where it's just separated right up in there. So I'm gonna weld all that together and then grind it down, make it look good. And then I gotta come in here and get rid of this rot that's up in here, and then there's a little bit in there as well. And I'm gonna make sure that this pinch weld is good and connected, and once that's all fixed up, we'll move on to the next thing. All right, I got that all welded up. I'll grind it down in just a second and finish welding it, because there's no doubt I probably have some welding pinholes in it. Got this corner over here welded up, finished, and I got to looking across the front of, let's see, this is the front of the windshield. You can see how it's gonna go. And it's full of damn holes. It's full of damn holes. They just don't stop appearing. So I took the wire wheel and cleaned them up, and I'm gonna weld them up real quick, and hopefully it'll be no more holes. I wanted to video a little bit of this welding, because a lot of you guys probably don't understand how time-consuming welding up little holes that have rusted through can be, because there isn't very much metal to weld to, and it's not like structural welding where you're welding two pieces of metal together and you just go along the seam in the middle. I have a hole, and I take my welder and I go boop, 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 around the edges, very, very carefully. I just let it touch, just like that. And what that does is it builds just the smallest little spot of extra metal around the edges. I go all the way around the edge, and then I work zzz, 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 all the way around the edges to fill up that hole until it closes. And then once I've got it closed, I can come back and grind it off, and I've got I fixed the hole. But that is extremely time consuming. This whole roof area I've been working on for quite some time now. Probably a couple of hours. And I still have to here to go. Just watch this. This hole right here is about quarter inch wide, 1/8 of an inch across the other way. It just, see, whenever I hit it, it just opened up. Now it's a 1/4 inch diameter hole. That's another thing that they do sometimes. They're so thin, whenever you hit them, they blow up. Sometimes you have to change the angle that you're going at it. If it ain't working one way, go at it another way. All right, so check this out. This right here is that hole. That hole right there started out a little bit larger than that little hole there. Just a little bit larger. And then whenever it blew open, it turned into that. And then it ran and got long on me and turned into that. And that looks terrible. But I'll grind that down and it'll just look like shiny new metal underneath there. And I've got to do that to every single one of these holes all the way across here. You guys want to see something nuts? That hole is where the mirror bolts. And that little brown ball right there is an acorn. How it got in there, I have only one idea, and it's that a squirrel probably put it in there. Oh, there's some poop. You've probably noticed this big hole in the cowl panel, and this is where the wiper motor mounts. And so I have the actual wiper motor right here. This little arm goes through there, that mounts to that. But it uses this piece of sheet metal here, and you can see it's pretty rotten. This went somehow like that, or like this maybe, I don't know. It went one of these ways. But this is in pretty poor shape, and I just did quick Googling, and you can't buy them. So I'm gonna fix it. The first step will obviously be cleaning it up and just seeing what metal I have left. Alright, this is what we've got. I've cleaned it up. No more rust. Just clean, good metal to weld to. I think what I'm going to do is use this template that I made, and I'm going to cut out that piece first. Alright, so I made up this piece here. Just a new piece of metal out of my template. And what I'm going to do, I've got my holes drilled. I've got this little notch in it, which I'm going to use to locate it going this way. And I'm going to very, very carefully cut around the edge. Cut around the edge of this all the way around, and then pull this out. Alright, this is what I've got, and I'm just gonna go ahead and finish welding it along the inside. And the reason I'm doing that is if you weld from the inside, then I can come around and grind off the excess on the outside, and it should look just like an original part, or pretty close to it. I got some paint on it. Just gonna let it sit here and dry in my paint booth, and flip it over and get the other side. Got some primer on that piece. That's gonna go behind there, down in there. And next I have to fix this. So shouldn't be too terribly difficult. That is where this mounts to, and I could run it just like that. You probably never see it, and it probably wouldn't be a problem. But I'm gonna fix it, because I'm here, and why not? So, all right. Get in here. What I'm gonna do, that goes just like that. I'm going to cut this out just in a square around it. Save on that piece. All right. Set that down on a piece of paper. Trace it out. Then lay that piece of paper over top of this. Get my holes. Then transfer that piece of paper to a new piece of metal. Cut everything out, and we will have a new piece right there. All right. I'm gonna call it here for tonight. You can see how I ended up having to do that. I had this piece too far over just a little bit whenever I started welding it, and there was no turning back. So I cut it, and then I started this piece at the top, pulled it down, trimmed a piece off the edge, and stuck that piece in that hole. It turned out really good. By the time I grind that down, it'll look fine. This over here, flawless. The next thing I need to do is I need to get that giant transmission onto that motorcycle jack, and I need to jack the truck up so that I can get the transmission out, then strap it to the jack, and get it under there, lift it up where it needs to go, put the engine back in, put some bolts in it, and jack it up, and then we can check our clearance in the transmission pump. All right, you're seeing what I'm seeing. There is no room in there. Okay, so the next thing that I have to do is obviously make a hole in the floor of the truck, and that is kind of scary. Nature made a lot of holes in this truck over the years, and she did so willy-nilly and didn't put them in the right spot. So I need to cut probably down there and down there. But I need my lines to be perfectly parallel, and I need them to be very, very straight, because I'm going to come back with a piece of sheet metal that I bend into a round shape, and I'm going to make a tunnel that's going to go from here all the way back to there, and it's going to stop flush there. So I'm going to measure from this edge in a couple inches and just make a mark as I'm going down. So, got my tape measure here. We'll start off just as a baseline, we'll do 2 inches. So every 2 inches from the edge, I make a mark. And I'll do this spaced 3 to 4 inches apart. Now then, I can take my straight edge and connect the dots. Now, I'm not going to cut that line because I believe it's probably too big this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a mark every couple inches coming in on either side, and then I'm going to make another line. And I'm going to start with just having a 4-inch wide section in the middle. Oh, okay. Yeah, so gonna have to make the hole bigger. As you can see, we're not touching anything. We are clearancing. I mean, I can wiggle the truck. The transmission stays still. Got a little issue, so I just went and looked at my bolt bin, and I only have 2 bell housing bolts. So I bought the motor and transmission from a friend of mine, and he had bought them from a guy that pulled them out of a junkyard. And so he forgot a couple bell housing bolts. Not a big deal. I'm going to run to the store and get a few more, because 2 is definitely not going to be enough to hang that transmission. Bolts. Okay, I have the engine, mock-up engine bolted to the transmission. I put the intake manifold back on there just so I can check for the degrees this way. I was told that it needs to be between 3 and 4 degrees about, and I got my cross member on here and it's bolted in, and there's a problem. So the cross member bolts to the bottom of the frame rail. I had to knock them ears off just to get it to fit. So, but it went into some holes that were there, but that's a big issue. That does not fit that. If I let the transmission come down and go into the hole there on my cross member and rest on the cross member, then my engine is sitting at about 7.5, 8 degrees, and it's in the truck like that, which is bad. So it needs to be about 3 degrees, 3 to 5. What I'm going to do to fix this, I can bolt the cross member to the transmission. If I have to trim the ends of these off, that's fine. And get this in there where I want it. Get this cross member level. And then take and weld some plate steel to the inside of my frame. Right up in there. Kind of below the bottom line there. And have some holes in that this bolts to. So it will bolt to the middle of the frame. Therefore, it will raise the cross member up and I can still use the same cross member. So I'm going to go look and find some plate steel, and I'm going to get on that. Alright, I got my holes drilled. I did these kind of oval this way. So the holes in the cross member are going oval this way. The holes in this are going oval this way. So I have a circular motion of adjustment. I got it under there. How I want it to be. Got it bolted up. The dial on top of the engine reads 4.2 degrees. It does kind of fall a little bit. So anywhere between 4 and 5 degrees is what I kind of want the engine to be at. So if it kind of drops a little bit, it'll be okay. The transmission jack kind of leaks down just a little bit. But I'm going to get under there and measure with my tape measure the distance from the bottom of the frame to the bottom of the cross member on both sides, and try to get it really, really, really close, if not exactly the same, before I put any tack welds down. That way my cross member is leveled this way. And then I'm going to pull the cross member out and fully weld everything. I got the ears welded in, and I welded in, you can see there along the top, just in the middle, and then the sides along the bottom. I did that the same on both of them. I've got the transmission resting on it. The reason I didn't fully weld it is because it's a pain in the ass to weld in here upside down. So I just put some welds on there. That will be sufficient, most likely. What I did, you could probably drive it down the highway like this, but whenever I get done, I'm going to weld it all the way around. Whenever the cab comes off the frame and I've got the frame on a rotisserie, or I can just get to it easier, I'll weld it all the way around. If you look here, I'm going to have to make the hole a little bit bigger. I don't know what these are for, but that right there ain't going to work. So the engine is sitting at 4.4 degrees. So it looks good in there. Nothing else is close from what I can see. Down in there along the sides, it has plenty of clearance everywhere else, but they just didn't have very big transmissions back in the day. They just really didn't. So there's plenty of clearance everywhere though. Boy, does it look nice. We know that I need to make this tunnel a little bit larger. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm just going to cut a 1/2 inch of material off the sides and cut a 1/2 inch of material on the top. Then I need to make this back here into a little tunnel, about that big, because we need room for the drive shaft. All right, so this is what I came up with for a template. You can see right here, this one fits right on there, just like that. The edges touch. So what I did, I cut a piece about a 1/2 inch out of a long piece of flat metal. You could use welding wire for this too, but I don't have any like TIG welding wire. But I just took the flat piece, I stuck it under here, I bent that end down, and I stuck it under there, and then I marked it, and I trimmed both edges, and then I got a pretty uniform bend going on there. So that'll weld to that on the edges and come all the way back, and we have plenty of clearance. Just take my pieces of metal here, lay them on this, flatten them out, and mark how wide it needs to be, measure how long it needs to be, and make them. All right. Now you can see how that directly translates to making your curve so you know it's big enough, then flattening it out so you know it's big enough. Then I'm going to come back here, make my curve. Looks close. We're going to try it out. Look at there. Pretty dang close. Good enough. So now I'll take that to the slip roller, and I'll use that as a template to bend this whole sheet just like that. We're getting it adjusted right now. He just used it to put a radius in some 1/4 inch plate, so 16 gauge is a lot smaller. We're trying to get it set up for it. You can see what we're doing. We're using the template to get our radius correct, so it's almost there. There we go. Got one. It's plenty close enough. There you go. It's hard to get line. All right. Now we gotta do. Now we gotta do the big one. That's gonna be a whole lot of radius in that one. Start little. You gotta put the wheels down. Holy crap. Dang, it bent it like a lot. It's good. We need to pull it where it's happy. It might be good.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
It's good enough for this race car.
Yeah. That'll work. Sweet.
I sounded a bit later to you.
We're back, and you can see how this is kind of sort of gonna look. I'm gonna pick that up. I have to trim the edges front here because I made it to where this should butt up to that, but I need to trim these edges something like that. This side here I got a nice radius. I just kind of freeballed that, and then I got my piece that came off of it, and then the other side flipped it over this way and then traced it as I rolled this around like that to get this side. So it should be pretty close to symmetrical. Shouldn't have to be perfect. Now we can try it out. Oh, There we go. All right. Yeah, that's too much. Dang it. I think right about there. I mean, that's good. That's a good amount. You need a little bit of room. That's good clearance. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and weld it up. I'm gonna weld probably to about right there on both sides. And then I'm going to pie cut this or something to where that kind of makes a taper in the middle. Went ahead and welded all the way around the front of the transmission tunnel. That is looking good, and what I want to do is actually have you can see how it's pretty flat right now. I'd like to have the transmission tunnel kind of bend down, kind of come whoop, back, in the top of it back here be level with the top of this. So my plan, I've never done this, but my plan is to come along in here and make a cut and a cut and a cut and a cut on both sides, and then just push it down and see if I can make enough cuts on it to make it curve. Because when it's done and there's carpet on top of it, I don't want it to look like it's been hacked together. I want it to look, you know, professional. So that's what I'm going to try to do. Alright, so just starting off, I just made some cuts. You can see about 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch apart. I didn't really measure anything. I'm just kind of eyeballing it for now. And what I'm going to do is push these in to where the bottom touches and then tack it together right there. So put a tack weld there, and put a tack weld here, then there, then there, then there, and just keep working it back. And maybe I end up having to cut more of those at the end, maybe not, I don't know. I'm trying to get this down to there, so maybe I can just get enough angle on it, and I just get enough angle from right there to where that is straight. We'll see. Check that out, dude. I like that. That looks very good. That worked better than I thought it would. Sometimes I surprise myself. Alright, that's pretty cool. There it is. It ain't pretty yet, but that's it. It's all welded in there. It's solid as a rock. I got a whole lot of grinding to do on that.